This game is super important for the Cleveland Browns this weekend. You might be saying, really? It's the Indianapolis Colts. You're a better team. There's questions around Deshaun Watson. He practiced yesterday in a limited capacity. And I think the Browns are a team that it's important that you have your starting quarterback, but they have built up a team that's not the end-all be-all anymore. And that's a powerful thing to be said when you have a team that can overcome that type of adversity and find a win. The questions continue to come, though. Is playing Deshaun Watson this weekend the most important thing for the Browns? Do you sit him? Do you try to get him rested a little bit more? Do you look at the Indianapolis Colts and say, we could be able to beat them maybe without Deshaun Watson? But the question remains, the importance of this game. I'm not throwing this one away. That win for the 49ers, if anything, I think put a little more emphasis on this game for the Browns to make some hay while they can, get a win over an AFC opponent. I don't think the Colts will be in the playoff hunt come the end of it, but as tiebreakers go, we know you want to have a good record in your division and the AFC. There's a lot on the line. Maybe not real apparent, but I think there's a lot on the line for the Cleveland Browns. We're trending towards Watson playing. We will see. Ohio State, Penn State, I feel a lock pick. And you know how I do with the lock picks there, young Ryan. We'll get to Sonny Gupta coming up from Tipico. We got Jake Butt joining us in hour 2. Big Ten Network, former Michigan tight end. We'll talk to him a lot about the Penn State thing. Maybe we'll talk to him about the Michigan situation. Harbaugh, you dirty dog, you. He didn't know, though, Ryan. A scandal. Allegedly even worse than what the Astros were doing for Michigan. We'll get to that. We got our picks. We got the Friday report card. We got Sonny. We got Jake. We got it all for you right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Good morning. A beautiful football Friday. Take you up to 11 o'clock this morning. Sonny's 10:15. We'll get to Jake at 10:30 this morning to get all the insight for Ohio State, Penn State. Got to talk some Buckeyes, and of course the Michigan situation and our picks. Not a bad week for us last week on the picks, but I feel like we're ready to break out, Ryan, on our picks with Tipico. We've had some good weeks, a couple games above 500 here and there. You and I on the season are both above 500, but I think we're ready to break out here a little bit.
Yeah, we had a great start here on Thursday Night Football.
We are both 1-0. 1-0. I had a savory little parlay last night, buddy. Oh, yeah. Dude, these player props. I'm telling you, on Tipico, get on there and just do a couple of player props. Christian Kirk went off, a couple of touchdowns there for Travis Etienne, but we are both 1-0. We both took Jacksonville in the points. They outright won last night. So get to all of our selections coming up. We focused in on the Browns to start this morning. Deshaun Watson limited in practice yesterday. Well, I would like it to be a full participant. I don't think that was ever really in the cards, and he'll practice today, I'm assuming, as a limited participant as well. The question is, do you want him to play this weekend? Is this something that you are ready to go with Deshaun Watson? Because I feel like people have had a shift in the mindset after that win against San Francisco. If that game didn't go your way, the pressure would be even greater to play Watson against the Colts. It's also, you won. It's almost like a bonus win. And I hate to say it, but you got a win that you really weren't supposed to. And it's like a bonus. And I have a rule, Ryan. Anytime I do the schedule game or anytime I look at the season, in the NFL, you're going to win a game that you're not supposed to, and you're going to lose a game that you're not supposed to. And that's usually pretty standard for most teams. To what level of degree? Go see that Jets game last year because you shouldn't have lost that one. And I think I could probably chalk up Sunday's game against the 49ers as the Browns win for the season that they shouldn't have gone. I'm not saying they can't do more of that. But that win really has reduced a lot of the pressure that I feel from the fan base to play Deshaun Watson. Is it a false sense of security? That is the ultimate question. Is that a false sense of security? Where if I wanted to look at it just strictly from you beat the best team in football with your backup quarterback, your defense played out of their minds, just do it again against a lesser opponent in the Indianapolis Colts. That's one side. And then also with the Watson thing, it's another week for him to be able to rest. And, he claims that he can't further that injury, which I don't know if I quite buy that. If you have an injury, playing on it or playing on an NFL field with really any type of injury, I'm assuming you could make that worse. I'm not a doctor, which might shock some people here on the show. So he said he can't make it worse. Then you come back to his actual functionality. What was the line from Stefanski, Ryan? The functionally able or something like that, or
he's medically cleared, but he's not functionally able.
Yeah, something like that. So the question is, can Watson do what you need to do on a field? Push the football. And I know people had about 20 odd some throws at practice yesterday, and I saw some video from Jake Trotter. Okay, so Watson seems to be on the path forward. If he plays, there's always that opportunity to lessen that or slow the progress that you've made. Conversely, he could play and just be just fine. Do you play him this weekend? We'll post that on our Twitter question this morning at Matt Fontana Show. Do you want Deshaun Watson to play this weekend against the Indianapolis Colts? Because it's so hard for me to sit here and say that he is needed to win. You know, we asked the question, I think yesterday, do you believe that P.J. Walker could beat the Colts? And a lot of people said yes. Now, was P.J. Walker instrumental in the Browns getting that win against the 49ers? Not necessarily. He did his job, had some nice throws, that's fine. But I sit here today, I can't fall back on that. I think you had a perfect storm, played your ass off, and you got a nice win. I'm ready for Deshaun Watson to come back. I'm ready to see Deshaun Watson play. Well, Matt, he might not be medically cleared or he might not be ready to go. I need him out there Sunday. If he's medically cleared to go, he's limited in practice and he's able to make some throws, I need him starting this game on Sunday. I need him out there. There's a game plan out there. You run with Kareem Hunt, who really had a nice game, and Jerome Ford. Joel Bitonio will be back. You assume you'll be able to run the ball a little bit better. Defense. We all know the historical stats that are out there for this Browns defense. They're facing Gardner Minshew. Jonathan Taylor's back. Was this his third game back? There's nobody, I say this, there is nobody on that offense for the Colts that scare me right now. Jonathan Taylor's a really good back. He's getting out-touched. They're giving more carries to other guys than Jonathan Taylor right now. All of that is true. I think that actually helps the reason to play Watson. Put him in there and slow it all down. Put him in there for the game reps. Put him in there and say, yeah, we're probably going to run it 30 times, or we're going to have you just throw. Part of the reason is the future of the team. With a lot of people making this decision, if you want Watson to play this weekend, people might come back with, yeah, but the rest of the season, and I want him healthy for the stretch run. Sure, I completely understand that. But make no mistake, when he gets in there, whether it is this weekend or it's next week, Ryan, there will be rust. I know you hate that word. I know we discussed it. You hate it. I hate rust. I get it. Because that was all that was brought up for the 6 games last year with Watson. And then what ad nauseum did we talk about in the preseason was, well, we think the rust is knocked off. We really think he's going to be back and be just fine. That didn't necessarily really happen, but that's fine. So now, when he plays, I don't think he's going to look perfect. And there's, again, critical people that even when he was playing healthy, he didn't look all that good. I want him out there because I think this could be a nice tune-up game for him or a warm-up game. And is that me disrespecting the Colts? Yeah, I'm allowed to do that. I'm not in that locker room. I'm not a coach. So I'll talk all the crap I want. I don't think the Colts are a very good football team. I don't. Sure, they might be on the up and come, and they might be trying to build something here and there. You give them respect, because if the Browns don't take care of business, yeah, they're going to lose. It's an NFL team. Any of that can happen. You play the way you're supposed to play. Watson at 80, 70%. This is a 2-touchdown game. Really should be a 2-touchdown game. I don't see anything on that defense. Yeah, DeForest Buckner is still very good. Shaq Leonard's good. Ryan, there's nobody in that secondary for the Colts. Nobody in that secondary that I get worried about. Even more of a reason, in my opinion, to put Deshaun Watson out there. He's got to get back in the flow of things. And there's also an element that with this shoulder, I believe this is something that is going to impact him the rest of the season. They've not said that. That is me projecting a little bit. But if that truly is the case, as I think it is, then he's going to have to learn how to deal with it, right? If it's something about a throw here or really ramping it up, you gotta flush that out. And you can go into practice and throw all the throws that you want. And that. Here's the other scary part. Deshaun Watson's going to get hit on that shoulder again. I don't know when and I don't know where, but he is going to get hit on that shoulder again. You have got to find out if he is good to go. I'm not talking contract. I'm not talking about anything else other than he's your starting quarterback, the biggest linchpin for your team on this season, as any team is the starting quarterback. I need him back out there. Is limited practice on a Thursday enough for me? Yeah, I'll take it. We've discussed this before. You don't practice, you don't play. I think that is a rule that is pretty standard in the NFL, and that is an enforceable thing for a lot of coaches. And guys get veteran days off and fight through injuries and all that kind of stuff. Deshaun Watson practiced yesterday. I'm assuming and projecting that he will practice today on a limited basis. If he can go, he needs to go.
Matt, I'm looking at these Deshaun Watson stats versus the Colts. They're pretty juicy.
So here's the funny thing. You and I were talking about this before the show. Do you know that in his Houston career, Deshaun Watson was only 2-5 against the Colts? Read that for what it is. The Texans had some bad teams while he was there. I think in his career in Houston, I think he was on really 2 good teams. That was ever it. You know, even the year he threw up all those numbers, they were terrible. So, and the Colts at that time were still, you know, piecing it together with Phillip Rivers. Like they were a spicy team. They were a little semi-spicy team. But yeah, Watson only 2-5 in his career. And then PJ Walker spent time on the Colts practice squad. So these are 2 quarterbacks that the Colts have turnover. They have coaching turnover. I'm not saying it's all the same coaches there, but these are 2 quarterbacks, whether it is PJ Walker or whether it is Deshaun Watson, the Colts should have a pretty good book on them. They should understand who they're playing. Again, I just default and defer to if Watson can go, he needs to go. And I understand people are trying to play the long game, and I'm not saying they're fanning scared, but he's got to, like, it's just time. I've been beating my head against the wall like most people for the last 3 weeks about this. I need him to go out there and calm me down. And even if there's a situation that he goes out there Sunday and plays poorly, throws a couple interceptions, and as long as the Browns get a win, I will still do this show Monday happy because at least he got out there for the game reps. At least he got out there and got back in the flow because his season has now been interrupted. It's not that we're back at the preseason or, you know, you're back in training camp, but think about it. He's been off the field, out of football, so to speak, for 3 weeks. He's missed 2 games in the bye. There's a little bit of a restart that happens there. There is a little element that he's got to get back into the game. So if you have an opponent like the Colts that I think the Browns should be able to win no matter what, Ryan, put him out there, let him get back in the flow and go after it. And also, let's, again, I'm being disrespectful for the Colts. You know, Kwity Paye is fine, and their highest graded defensive end is Samson Ebukam.
Yep.
That's not TJ Watt.
No. And
that's not Nick Bosa, who you just saw. You assume that you should be able to. Don't even bring up Jed Wills. Don't do it. Don't you do it.
I wasn't
Don't you do it.
It's a Friday. I don't like bringing up Jed Wills.
Because I wanted to sit there and be like, oh my God, these DNs suck. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's some questions on that tackle situation. Hey, Jed played all right in that game. Let's build some momentum for Jed Wills. We need to lift up Jed Wills on this show. Okay.
I saw a very nice video on Instagram of Jed Wills blocking his dentist. And he looked really good, so I'm excited. He's gonna bring
dentist?
Yeah, it was like an ad, one of those, like, you know how like NFL, like you see them always in like the car commercials.
Yeah,
like, it was one of those. He was blocking his dentist, and he had perfect form.
I did not see this.
Go on I think it's on his Instagram.
Is it?
I think it was his dentist. It was some type of doctor or something.
Jed Wills. Sorry, I'm derailing the show here. Instagram.
I can find it.
All right, I'll find. Hang on, Jed Wills right here. On a second. Black. Oh. Hey, that's Dr. Mickley. Shout out to Dr. Mickley. I love Dr.
Really?
Mickley. Yeah, he's the best. He's the best. Worked with Dr. Mickley for a long time. He's the best. He's awesome. Yeah, and he's got some Browns. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I see it. All right. Yeah, I love it. Somebody commented. Even the damn dentist got past you, bro. Oh, come on. Come on.
Low blow.
No, Dr. Mickley's the best. I love him. He's great. Shout out to him. So, all right, we're turning things around. Do we need to turn this show? I'll tell you what. Jed Wills has a good game on Sunday. We are turning this show into a pro Jed Wills show. We'll lift him up. Nobody's doing it in this town. We'll do the dirty work. We'll do it. Get a little momentum out there. A little bit of hype here for Jed Wills. If he has a good game Sunday, we'll start this show Monday as the pro Jed Wills show. Okay? How about that? So it's a little bit of pressure there on Jed Wills. Twitter question, we'll put it up at Matt Fontana Show. Do you want Deshaun Watson to play this weekend? Yes or no? And again, I think for people saying no, you would probably go back to the injury. You'd probably say give him a little bit extra time. For me, I need him out there. I want him out there. I want to see it. So I'm saying yes. Ryan, cast your vote, please.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd love to see him out there, and it's impossible to predict the future. And like you said, he's going to go out there, and when he does, he's going to get hit again. He's a quarterback. That's the way he plays. But yeah, I'm with you in that I would love to see him go in a stadium, Lucas Oil, where he's comfortable. So he's played 3 games in his career there.
I'm remiss, and I want to apologize. Yeah. Somebody tweeted me about a retractable roof yesterday. I'm like, Lucas Oil doesn't have a retractable roof. Lucas Oil does have a retractable roof.
Oh, there you go.
I did not know. I swear to God, I didn't know that. Has it always had a retractable roof?
I don't know.
I apologize. Somebody tweeted at me, and I was like, nah, man, what are you talking about? There's no retractable roof there. There is. And in fact, I guess there's only 3 retractable roofs in the NFL. The Cardinals, Lucas Oil, and one other. I'm assuming SoFi, probably. I can't remember. But yeah, I didn't know. Because I guess their thing is they're the only one in the NFL that the retractable roof actually goes sideline to sideline. It's not like just a strip down the middle. Like instead of it roll, like if the field goes this way, it goes like that. It opens that way. So I apologize to whoever I said yesterday. I'm like, man, they don't have a retractable roof. They do.
But Deshaun Watson has played 3 games at Lucas Oil in his career, and he's 1-2. However, he's averaging 352 yards a game on 72.3%.
That's pretty good. The retractable roof can open or close in about 11 minutes. It's composed of 2 panels, each weighing 2.5 million pounds. The home team determines if the roof will be open or closed 90 minutes before kickoff. The real reason is Bubba Ventrone. Yesterday, Brown special teams coordinator, he said it'll be open. He goes, it'll be 50 degrees, but he goes, they don't care. They leave it open for as much as they can to try to mess with the wind. And he said that shouldn't impact us too much. So now you know there's a retractable roof on Lucas Oil. All right, tweet at that at Matt Fontana Show, at Matt Fontana 83. We'll get back into Watson a little bit later today. Don't really expect anything at this point of the day. Like we'll find out a little more later today when it comes to Watson practicing. And then I'm assuming, Ryan, that Stefanski will make some sort of declaration. And the declaration, I'll tell you how the day is going to go. They will list Deshaun Watson for questionable for Sunday's game. I'm assuming. Yeah, there could be a setback and they just rule him out. I'm assuming they're going to go to questionable, and I certainly hope he plays. The biggest story in sports right now, though, and we're discrediting Ohio State. We'll get to Ohio State, Penn State a little bit later. I think this game, I'm excited for this. Why it's a noon kickoff. People are a little upset by that. It's in Columbus. Drew Aller's coming back, Medina kid. He's really good. I think there is way too much pressure on Penn State for this game. You're in Columbus. It's 4.5 the last time that I saw it. I jumped on Tipico, Rye, to get it. And for me, a quote-unquote sizable bet. Ohio State should smoke them. I really don't see anything in this game that makes me worried about Ohio State. It's 4.5. Okay, so it's at half the point that it's moved. I'm still taking Ohio State all day. So we'll get into Buckeyes a little bit later. We'll talk to Jake Butt of the Big Ten Network. That'll be an hour 2. Biggest story is Michigan and Harbaugh. So they have been caught, allegedly, in one of, as some people have called it, one of the worst cheating scandals that college football, really sport. People say this is nothing compared to what the Astros were doing. So allegedly, they had a minor staffer, a low-level staffer with a military background, has emerged as one of the key pieces in this investigation into Michigan's alleged sign-stealing operation. Connor Stallions is a football analyst with the Wolverines and a retired captain in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you for your service. A person of interest in the investigation. They apparently violated an NCAA rule that had been put in place since 1994 about advanced scouting in person of a team and sign stealing. They have a guest taken his computers as part of this. A source told ESPN the Wolverines had used an elaborate scouting system to steal signs from future opponents since at least 2021. In a statement yesterday, Jim Harbaugh denied any knowledge or involvement in the alleged scheme. He said he would fully cooperate and, quote, doesn't condone or tolerate anyone doing anything illegal or against NCAA rules. My ass. I threw that last part in there. He said, of course, he goes, I didn't know. But in the NCAA, you know what that gets you? Jack squat nothing. Because they will still pop you for harboring, oh God, what is that word? Fostering a non-compliant environment or something like that. That doesn't carry any weight. They go, I didn't know. So I guess what happened was he was watching these teams beforehand on either video. I can't tell if this was in person. So I guess this guy worked in the recruiting department. But it was known in the building that he spent much of his time deciphering opponents' signals, often watching television copies of opponents' games. And then they would catch him on the sidelines standing next to Don Brown and Mike McDonald, who are the defensive coordinators for the Wolverines. So as I understand this, and everybody's jumping on that Greg Schiano clip from a little while ago, where Schiano kind of made some like sideways comments, kind of maybe saying that everybody knew about it. So in the NCAA, which I think is like the stupidest thing in the world, they sit there and they go, strong, right, left, right. You see all the guys in the shirts on the sidelines. One wears green, one wears yellow, and the players look to the sidelines and they tell you, rock it or this, you do it in high school a lot too. Right? Strong, I, weak, rub. I can't do some of the ones I had in college. They're not on air, right? All these things, like, it's the play. And what this guy would do is watch and know when they do this, strong, whatever, they're going to run this play. You tell the defensive coordinator, and then they call a play, and then they stop it. Okay? Yes, that's wrong. Yes, that's illegal. And now in the NFL or in the NCAA, what do you see now? You see a lot of these guys or these poor, interns on the sideline. They hold up these giant sheets in front of them so they can't see what's going on. Is Michigan scummy for doing this? Yeah. Did Harbaugh know about this? How could he not? When you're two defensive coordinators, you want to stop at Harbaugh, fine. Tell me the two DCs didn't know about this. They're going to go down for this too. Why do you not just put the radio in the helmet? Memo to the NCAA. There's great new technology out there. I don't know if you've seen it, but they put a little receiver in the ear of the quarterback in the helmet, and they just radio the plays in. What a novel idea. I've always thought that. I always thought that was crazy that the NCAA didn't do that. And I guess how the NCAA offenses go, where they're so different, the receivers, you don't huddle all that often. I'm not saying that Michigan's okay for doing it. Like, Michigan sucks. I hate Michigan so much. So, yes, I'm happy to see them go down for this. But the NCAA could just avoid this. Just make the rule. Let them put the helmet in the quarter. Like, put the receiver in the helmet of the quarterback. Let the guys just radio the calls in. And I'm assuming that coaches would like that too. Again, there's an element of like the receivers need to know the play, but here's what you could do. I guess it really wouldn't change the situation. Tell the quarterback the play and then have the signal to the receivers or something. I don't know. I really don't. But it's just funny that this is all happening when you have the technology just to avoid this. It's kind of like baseball with all that sign stealing that was happening. What did they do? In 2 seconds, like, all right, we'll go to the earpiece then. Go to the earpiece. Which is weird because I was watching the Phillies game the other day. I can't remember if it was Zach Wheeler, whoever's pitching. He didn't have an earpiece. I thought it was because I saw JT Realmuto actually doing the signs. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. I will forever look at the Astros as a bunch of cheating sons of you know what. There are guys that I choose not, like Michael Brantley on field. Bregman can go to hell. Altuve can go to hell. All those guys. Correa, Nothing for them. They could come to the Guardians and I'd still root against them. I really would. That's low. The integrity of the game. And really, just as an athlete, as a person, as a human being, you don't feel like there's something wrong with that? And in a world, and especially college football, where you do everything you can to win, where this is cutthroat, and you think you just found an edge. The old saying in NASCAR is what? You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. You think you find an edge. This is one that you know was illegal. This isn't something that you found some practice technique or you really dove into film study different than anybody else and you're ahead of the curve. You think you're really... No, you know what you're doing. You were stealing signs. And the fact that you needed to do that or you felt like you needed to do it probably tells you how worried Harbaugh is. He's out of there, man. That first investigation, everybody's kind of wondering about. This is coming down. Don't tell me that Harbaugh's not going to leave. I'd walk away from that and be like, you know what? I'm gone. I don't know, really, if you had the option to coach in the NFL or college, why the hell would you stay in college? The recruiting is insane. Yeah, you have a little bit more cachet. You know, he's a Michigan legend and all that kind of stuff, but that's not the word. I guess I'm not in coaching, but still, like, I'd get the hell out of there. But now you apply all this other stuff to it, where this came out now, and make no mistake, this is interesting that it came out when it did. That's not a mistake either. Michigan's number 2 in the country. They will probably stay that way until they get to the Ohio State game. Now, you have put pressure on the NCAA, who they suck as it goes anyway. But we're all going to be sitting there looking at them going, are you going to let them make the playoff? Are you going to when are the sanctions going to come down? And yeah, in the true NCAA sense, they always usually wait until the off season, right? And then there'll be a negotiation period like there was with Harbaugh where, hey, man, we caught you doing this. We want to suspend you for this. But if you just accept this as a plea deal, then we can all move on and there's no more back and forth. You just accept what you didn't move on. I think this is big enough that the NCAA might not even do that. They might sit down and go, dude, here's the book. We're going to throw the book at you for this. Vacating wins. And then he comes back to, if they've really been doing this since 2021, I don't care about that. I think vacating wins is some of the stupidest, there's been scandals left and right. Some that are just so absolutely horrible. We know the Penn State stuff. We know what happened down at Baylor. Vacating wins doesn't. So what? So what? Oh, we took that away. Does it really matter? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It's about what you are doing moving forward. And if they really want to make a case out of Michigan, they need to come out as soon as this investigation is done. I'm not saying today because they got to spend time to talk to this guy and they took his laptop and they're going to find out. But if there's this much smoke, then I believe what happened. The NCAA has to come out as soon as they can and lay the hammer on Michigan. Postseason bans, scholarship reductions. You want to vacate the wins? I don't care. I'm talking about what we do now moving forward. And the other thing that's going to go against Michigan, this is kind of the first time. And when you do something to this level for the first time, what happens? You get made an example of. And trust me, there are other teams sitting there shaking in their boots across the country because they were probably doing something similar. NCAA is so crooked. They are so corrupt. Other teams, I know for a fact, there's no way that there weren't other teams doing this. They all still do that. There are programs that you look at and you feel like are a little more squeaky clean than others. You'd like to believe that Ohio State is pretty squeaky clean. And this is coming from me, an Ohio State fan. I'm a lifelong Ohio State fan. I will be forever. I wasn't smart enough to get into school, so I did the next best thing. I married somebody who was smart enough to get into that school. My wife is a proud graduate. They're doing some, I don't know what, and it might be low-level stuff, helping out with a tutor here and there. What you need to avoid is the big stuff. And you need to run a program that knows, yes, there are things that we have to be held to a certain standard here. But make no mistake, the Michigan Wolverines weren't the only team doing this. To a level, to a degree. And Harbaugh will just continue to claim that he didn't know. I can't buy that. I just can't. At the very least, his 2 defensive coordinators knew. And they'll get suspended. They'll probably get fired. Because if this guy was truly standing next to them saying, hey, they just did this signal, we're running this play here. How the DC not know? 2 of them, both of them. It's added on that it's Michigan. Like, obviously, we wouldn't care if this was Texas or if Oklahoma or Oregon did anything, but it's Michigan. And the timing of this, I can't look past that, right? It's just like the timing of this is just so perfect. I think they're going to, I really think they're going to come down on them. I do. What's crucial to the NCAA case isn't what Stallions did while breaking down television copies of the game, because I guess we could do that. It's whether or not illicit methods, interesting word usage there, illicit methods were used, which are alleged to include opponent scouting in different venues. And that was outlawed by the NCAA in 1994 as a cost-cutting measure to bring more equity to the sport. So that would be they're playing Rutgers and you go to you send a scout to Rutgers before the game and they watch the game and then write down the sign stealing stuff. Sign stealing also violates NCAA rules if a team uses electronic equipment to decipher signals and relay information to players and coaches. According to the 2023 NCAA football rulebook, any attempt to record either audio or video means any signals given by an opposing player or coach is prohibited. So you can't do what the Patriots were doing. Remember that? You want to hear a funny story about that, Ryan? I watched them do it. So when I was credentialed for the Browns, there were 5 years I was at every home game, every game. And I'd sit in the press box and I'd be sitting up there, you know, with all my colleagues and stuff like that. And shout out to Gerard Cherry. Gerard, there's no person on this world I've done more radio shows with than Gerard Cherry. I've known Gerard for 13 years. I love him to death. And he and I were sitting there, and I loved watching games with Gerard because obviously he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, and I just loved talking ball with him. You know, Riz would sit there, and we just have so much fun. And there was one game that the Browns are playing the Bengals, and Gerard noticed somebody from the New England Patriots, and they were sitting a few rows away from us. Oh, okay, that's interesting. It's an advanced scout. That's nothing, really advanced, out of the realm. But the thing was that they had a camera crew with them. And we go, I thought that was, you can't film inside of the press box. And then we look, and they were filming over the, so imagine I'm sitting here, and the camera is here, and the field is there. They were shooting over the shoulder of this guy. That's how they were shooting the field. And Gerard and I sat there, and we looked, and we go, wait a minute. What are they doing over here? And then I don't remember how long later it comes out that they were seeing that was Tapegate. That was whatever it was. I can't remember. What did they call that one? I can't remember. But then we sit there and go, oh my God, we watched them do that. They got popped. Rule of the show, you're always going to get caught. Whatever you do, you're probably going to get caught. They got caught. Dude, and there's some Ohio State fans out there that always go back and forth, right? And the essence of the question is, would you rather Michigan be undefeated when Ohio State plays them so when you beat them, you feel better about it? Or would you have them be 0-11 when you beat them because that's how much you hate Michigan, right? There are people that are looking at this and saying, oh, we don't want any excuses and, we like to beat Michigan. I don't care. Take them down. Take them down for this. And this is not to the level of the horrible things that have happened at other schools. Let's be real about it, okay? This is still in the scope of football. These are not lives that were ruined. These were not in just a regular world illegal things. This was in the football scope. That's not lost on me. That's not lost on me. But this is still something when you willfully violate the rules. This isn't a mistake. Michigan knew what they were doing. And it's it's the mob tactics since 1931. You got to have a fall guy, and this guy's the fall guy. Now, the problem is he going to go to the NCAA and start barking? Is he going to sell it, rat them all out? Because the other part of this was he told to do it. And that's something I was reading this morning. What the NCAA really is on the path to find out, did he start doing this on his own, or was he told to do this? Was this one guy that just started going above and beyond to say, oh, I'll really help out, or man, look at these good reports that I turn in and all this stuff to really help out, trying to keep a job? Or did somebody come to him and say, hey, man, we're going to need you to start, getting after this? There's always a level that you try to cut it off before it actually gets to Harbaugh, because he's the big one. We'll see, man. This a Big Ten source. This is worse than both the Astros and the Patriots. It's both the use of technology for a competitive advantage, and if there's allegations that they're filming prior games, not just in-game. If it was an in-game situation, that's different. Going and filming somewhere you're not supposed to be is illegal. It's too much of an advantage. Dude, they got into this guy's LinkedIn account. Graduate in the United States Naval Academy. He was hired as an off-field analyst from Michigan last year. So here's the other interesting thing. This allegedly even going back to 2021. This guy only got hired last May, according to his bio on LinkedIn. He writes, he attempts to employ Marine Corps philosophies and tactics into the sport of football, regarding strategies in staffing, recruiting, scouting, intelligence, planning, and more. Listen, I know that there are a lot of people out there that do things for our military so you and I can live this joyous life, and sometimes you don't want to know about it. I get it. That's fine. I understand it. Not saying our country doesn't have a lot of problems. We need to get those problems remedied, but it's still the best country in the world. This is different. It's football. Little espionage going on there with Michigan, as it seems. I think they're going to come down on them. I think they do. They'll vacate the wins. I wonder. The biggest question I'm going to have is the postseason ban. Are they going to give that to them going into this season? But yeah, I continue to come back to, why do you not just put the radio in the helmet? And maybe this will be the big turn for it. And I'd love to ask Ryan Day that question. Do you prefer to put the signs in there, or would you rather have the radio in the helmet? I don't know, but NCAA's got a mess. Not the first one, not the last one they're going to be having, but we'll see what happens when it comes to the Michigan Wolverines. All right, we come back. It is a Friday, so we have our Friday report card. We'll take a deep dive into the Indianapolis Colts. We'll see what we have there. We got our NFL picks coming up with Tipico, Sonny Gupta at 10:15, our Tipico sportsbook manager, and Jake Butt from the Big Ten Network. He'll preview Ohio State, Penn State for us. We'll talk to him about Michigan as well. He comes up at 10:30. Stay locked in right here on Big Play. It's the Matt Fontana Show. Don't forget Chico coming up 12 to 2, and all the replays of all of the shows that we need. Bonus time was last night with Bruce Drennan. Ted Ginn's new show is up and rocking. We have Blake and Greg Williams. Come get some. I saw they put out the invitation to one Tony Grossi. We'll see if that happens. I don't know. Hanford show. Josh Maria Cribbs. Booby is back. Booby's World. We're into Cavs season. And tell me you're not going to want to tune into Anthony Schlegel and Bobby Carpenter come Sunday night after what I assume is going to be a big Ohio State win come Saturday. It's everywhere you need to know, folks. Big Play. You want to just follow the one account? I'll tell you this. Go follow Big Play. That's it. Just at Big Play on Twitter. 74,000 followers. And almost all of our shows get retweeted there. So if you want to follow the individual shows, it's all there. But just follow Big Play on Twitter, and you'll see it there each and every day with what you need. All right, let's catch a break. Friday report card comes your way next. Stay right here. Big Play. I love that picture of Gardner Minshew. Can you pull that back up, Ryan?
Yeah,
pull it back up. I want to see that Gardner Minshew picture. Yeah, look at that. Look at that stud.
And I got P.J. Walker in there, too.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you left P.J. Walker in there. That's fine. Look at Minshew Mania right there. The flow, the salad there a little bit. Oh, man. Gardner Minshew is like the perfect backup quarterback.
He really is.
He is the best. Let's get to it. Friday report card. We'll take a look at the Indianapolis Colts as we gear up for the Browns and Colts this Sunday at Lucas Oil Stadium. Welcome back. Matt Fontana Show right here on Big Play, streaming on the iHeart app. Don't forget, take us wherever you need to go. Download that iHeart app and search Big Play. You pull the show up right there. Gardner Minshew. If you want to give him credit for it, Ryan, he is technically 3-1 in the majority of the games that he has played. Obviously lost to Jacksonville last time out, beat Tennessee, somehow beat the Ravens in overtime, and then beat what seems to be a pretty good Houston team. You see his stats up there, and you brought it up so right. The 65% completion percentage, I think, is super interesting because he has 2 games, Ryan, where he had 44 and 55 attempts.
That's a lot of
44 attempts in that overtime win against Baltimore and 55 last week in that loss to Jacksonville. So is it a little bit of a misnomer? Because in those 2 games, he was only at 60 and 61%. The 2 other games that he played, Houston 19 out of 23 for an impressive 83% completion percentage. And then that Tennessee game, I think that was mop-up duty. I think he had to come in after Richardson got hurt. But he was 11 out of 14. That was 78%. So here's my point. In the 4 games that he's actually played, he has 2 games where he threw it all over the yard. You know, completion percentage was fine, and there was 2 games that kind of boosted the stats. If I'm the Colts, it's pretty clear and obvious that you are probably better when you don't throw it that much.
Yeah, and you go look at his touchdown to interception rate, that 3-3. All 3 of Gardner's picks came in that game against Jacksonville.
Yeah. And then the other thing that they did to him in that Baltimore game, they sacked him 5 times.
Yep.
You know, we'll talk offensive line and some of the other skill position players coming up. But here's the thing on Gardner Minshew. I think he is exactly what you look at for a backup quarterback. Can he win you a couple of games here and there? Sure. Is he serviceable? Yeah, sure. But I just, you know, with the offensive play calling there with Shane Steichen, I wouldn't think you would want Gardner Minshew throwing 40 times. And there's something to be said. You know, Baltimore's defense is solid. Jacksonville's we saw last night. Here's where I think it changes. For Baltimore and Jacksonville, again, 44 and 55 attempts there for Gardner Minshew. The Browns' defensive backfield is better than both of those teams. So if you throw it 40 times, the Browns are getting 2 interceptions. Tell me they won't. And maybe they're easing Jonathan Taylor back in. We'll talk running backs in a second, but Minshew is good enough that he has my attention. But you have no business losing to Gardner Minshew. You don't. And especially if they want to throw it that many times, you go for it. Again, the 5 sacks against Baltimore, I think, is something the Browns defense probably is going to be zeroing in on a little bit. Now, you flip it over, you did P.J. Walker again.
Yep.
All right, so P.J. Walker, I think we'll maybe lean back to Watson. If it's P.J. Walker versus Gardner Minshew, edge to Gardner Minshew. If it's Deshaun Watson, even limited, very clearly, of course, we're going to go with Deshaun Watson. On that, we move on now to talk about the rest of the teams here on the Friday report card. We start head coaches. Kevin Stefanski.
I think this is Stefanski's first nod we've given him this year, because I don't think we did. We only started the report card.
That's right. We didn't do Cincinnati because I'd have given it to him over Zach Taylor. So we didn't give it to him over Harbaugh. We didn't give it to him over Tomlin. Don't give it to him over Bravel. Didn't get over Kyle Shanahan. So, all right. I think Shane Steichen, I liked that hire. I did. Yeah. I think for an offensive mind, he's the younger guy, but he's brand new. So I would say just being at 3-3, that's pretty solid for him. But, you know, I would tell you that, like, almost all of the coaches would be like Shane Steichen. It's almost like you need to have a pool of rookie head coaches, okay? Like, you can't even make some sort of declaration. Like, DeMeco Ryans, world on fire for him right now. He's still a rookie head coach, so there's still time to be seen. So, yes, very clearly we give the head coach the nod to the Cleveland Browns. To the wide receivers we go. The big name for the Indianapolis Colts would be Michael Pittman Jr. Pittman coming in on PFF just as the 62nd 49th ranked wide receiver in the NFL with a grade of 67. Had a bit of a comeback or come out year a couple of years ago. But Ryan, I don't know if he's quite lived up to the hype that he had in 2021. Yes, quarterback changes have been a difference. That has a big impact on it. Where I think the Browns are going to really be able to limit Michael Pittman, he is not the fastest guy on the field. He's a tall, big body. I'd like you to meet Martin Emerson. Here's MJ Emerson. You put MJ Emerson on Michael Pittman. We know some of the stats. Dan Orlovsky has had them. A lot of people have had them. The Browns play an obscene amount of man coverage. Yep. That should give a lot of issues to Michael Pittman. I'm sorry, Ryan. Alec Pierce, I don't think is very good. I apologize as the Cincinnati Bearcat that you are. They got nothing going for him. Josh Downs is a rookie. I kind of wanted him for the Browns, to be honest with you, coming in the draft. He was a third-round pick, but nothing there. So the very clear edge is to the Cleveland Browns. Amari Cooper will be the best wide receiver on the field. There's a case Pittman is 2, but then I would take Elijah Moore over Alec Pierce or Josh Downs. I would very clearly take Donovan Peoples-Jones over either one of those guys. We usually fold the tight end into this, and it's kind of different because I feel like the Colts have always had a really good tight end. You know, they had Dallas Clark, and then they went to Jack Doyle. Kylan Granson is their starter. Not much there. I'm trying to see. I had his snapped or his. I'm sorry. I'm looking for his stats. I had them up for a second. So on the season, 25 targets, 16 receptions for $170 and a touchdown. Nothing really there. So you give the nod to David Njoku in the receiving core as well for the wide receivers. Running back, you do have to go for Jonathan Taylor. Now, here's the question about Jonathan Taylor. Is he truly back? Is he truly back? He had the time off. The interesting part is that he's getting out-snapped.
Yep.
Like, when you go back to the Jacksonville game, where, again, they needed Minshew to throw at 55 odds sometimes, Zach Moss, who really picked up a lot of the slack for the Colts while he was out, Taylor came back. He got 8 carries for 19 yards. Zach Moss had 21 yards on 7 carries. So I guess he didn't get out touch, but he got out yardage. The run game is abysmal right now for the Indianapolis Colts. And they were down in that Jacksonville game. They had to throw. I go back to that Tennessee game. That was a close game. But that's the game that Zach Moss went nuts. $165 on the ground, 2 touchdowns. They didn't even turn and give it to Jonathan Taylor.
Zach Moss is 3rd right now in the NFL in rushing yards. Should be 2nd, but it's Travis Etienne. But as we know, he
played
game
last night.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more worried about Zach Moss than I am Jonathan Taylor, which is crazy. They'll ramp up Taylor a little bit. Browns defense has got to be stout. I really liked what I saw from Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford. That was their best game. Yeah. But I'm sorry to say that they're still not the best running back group on this team, so we give this nod to the Indianapolis Colts. We go to the offensive line. Again, usually a position that with the Colts, you'd say, Quentin Nelson.
Yep.
Ryan Kelly, their center, is the #1 graded center in all of football. This is the closest one for me. This is the closest of any of the positions. Because I mentioned Quentin Nelson, all-pro, so very good. Ryan Kelly is grading out amazing right now. And then they have a left tackle here named Bernard Raymond. And he is grading out very solid on PFF. The weak part of the offensive line is the right side, and this is where I get a little excited. Blake Freeman's their right tackle. He has a pass block rate or grade of 40 on PFF. Myles Garrett should feast on young Blake Freeman over there on that right side. He's a 4th-round rookie starting at right tackle. Here's Myles Garrett, man. Best of luck to you. Browns offensive line gets the nod, but I think it's pretty close here. I think the return of Joel Bitonio will be a big help, and I'm hoping for a nice big game out of Jed Wills come up Sunday.
It's going to happen.
I hope
it's going to happen.
To the defense, again, there's no teams that can dethrone the Browns defense, but we flip over to the Colts. They are about middle of the pack in most everything that they do statistically, defensively. If anything, they're a little worse on the rushing attack. I want to make sure I have this right. So in total yards, the Colts are about middle of the pack, maybe a little bit better at 345. For passing yards on the season for the Colts, they only give up 288. So that is half of the NFL kind of to the bottom. But then their rushing attack of giving up what they do on the ground. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on offense. I'm an idiot. I was going to say that didn't sound right to me for some reason. On the rushing attack for the Colts, that's where the Browns should actually be able to make some hay. They give up $113 on the ground. That is bottom quarter of the NFL. And then for the passing for the Colts, it's a little bit better, but it's only to middle pack. So the thing is, there's nothing special on this defense. I still think DeForest Buckner's their best defensive player. I like Kwity Paye. He's fine. The thing where the Browns should be able to feast is on their secondary. Kenny Moore is one of the corners, and then the other one is Juju Brents. Wide receivers should have a day. They should be able to have a day. The secondary for the Colts not very good, so we give the edge to the Browns' defensive side of the football there. Overall, Browns are the better football team, Ryan. They should be able to get an easy win in this game.
Let's go to 4-2, Matt.
Let's do it. Let's get it done. Speaking of the records, let's get to it. Our picks. Do you want to break, then come back and do it?
Matt, your world, I'm just living in it.
All right, it's already 53. Let's get to it. All right, our picks presented by Tipico. Download that Tipico app, folks. Use the code BIGPLAY150 when you sign up. Get $150 in bonus bets when you deposit $50, plus that free $30 dog pound futures bet. NBA season is around the corner, Ryan. We'll be betting on regular season NBA games before you know it. Big weekend in college football. I like the Buckeyes minus that 4.5 very much. Get signed up with Tipico. Use that code BIGPLAY150 when you sign up. Get those bonus bets and play along with us, as always, on the season with us right here at Big Play. Tipico 150. Get it. Big Play 150 is the code. Let us start, Ryan. 1 o'clock down there in Tampa Bay. The Atlanta Falcons traveling to take on Baker Mayfield and the resurgent Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both teams, 3 wins on the year. Bucs coming off the bye, though. 3-2. Atlanta is 3-3. A little bit of a shocker maybe for what Desmond Ritter's been able to do. This line is 2.5. It opened at 1.5. Some money coming in on Tampa Bay. They are the home favorite, minus 2.5 in this. Let me jump into some trends. I will start with Atlanta. They have not covered in their last 5 games. The Falcons 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games. Atlanta is only 1-5 straight up in their last 6 games against Tampa Bay. Sorry. Let's flip over to Tampa Bay. Sorry, I was looking over-under here. Under seems to be the play. Under 5 out of Atlanta's last 6 games and 5 out of their last 5 games on the road. You flip over for Tampa Bay. They've not been great either. They're only 2-5 against the spread their last 7 games at home, but they are 5-14-1 against the spread their last 20 games. Talked about Atlanta coming in. The total actually has gone over in 4 out of Tampa Bay's last 5 games at home against Atlanta. I will take the Buccaneers in this one. I will take them minus that 2.5. Right.
I'm going to roll with you on that, Matt. Buccaneers got a pretty solid run defense, and hate to say it, but Desmond Ridder, my guy, can't really throw the ball right
now. Speaking of not being able to throw the football right now, Tyson Bagent. And is it Hoyer or is it Aiden O'Connell? No Jimmy Garoppolo. He's out with a back injury for the Raiders, and no Justin Fields for the Bears. This game is a dog at 1 o'clock there at Soldier Field. It is the Raiders as a 2.5-point road favorite that is up from a 1.5 point, and the over-under has tanked from 46.5, Ryan, all the way down to 37 with Jimmy Garoppolo not playing in this game. And again, Justin Fields not playing either. I will start with the Raiders, though. They're only 3-6 straight up in their last 9 games. They're only 2-5 against the spread their last 7 games against Chicago, and only 2-4 straight up in their last 6 games against the Bears. Raiders not good on the road. They're only 1-4 against the spread their last 5 games on the road. You flip it over for the Bears. They're only 2-11-1 against the spread their last 14 games. They're only 1-15 straight up in their last 16, and they are 0-10 in their last 10 games at home. I think this is all Raiders. They at least have a serviceable quarterback playing in this game. No offense to Tyson Bagent. By the way, did you know Tyson Bagent's dad is like one of the best arm wrestlers in the world?
I did not know that.
Google that. It's an interesting one. Travis Bagent. Look him up. Scary guy. Raiders all day minus that 2.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders too. This is a really gross game. I really don't have a reasoning.
So here's the funny thing. The 1 o'clock slate is kind of crap. Then the games get better later. So on the 1 o'clock slate, there are 3 road favorites. We just talked about the Raiders being one. The next game that we'll get to, the Buffalo Bills. They travel to take on the Patriots. They are a giant 8.5-point favorite. Bills coming in at 4-2. We know the Patriots struggles at 1-5. This game opened at 6.5. It's already up to 8.5 on the spread there. Of course, the favorite being the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo comes in 12-3 straight up in their last 15 games. They are 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games against New England, and 6-1 straight up in their last 7 games against the Patriots. And the Buffalo Bills are 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games played at Gillette Stadium. You flip it over for New England. They're only 1-9 against the spread their last 10 games, 1-6 straight up their last 7, and New England has not covered in their last 6 games at home. It's a big 8.5. I'm shocked that this isn't double digits. I will ride Buffalo in this one minus the 8.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with you, Matt. I was pretty surprised it was only 8.5. Bills offense looking to bounce back after they stalled pretty heavily against the Giants, which was a surprise. So I expect them to take advantage of that and get some momentum going against a pretty awful Patriots team.
One of the teams I really just cannot get a vibe on is the Washington Commanders. So they come in with a 3-3 record. And I don't know if they're good or are they just playing bad teams. We'll see. They travel to MetLife. They'll take on the Giants. Of course, they're 1-5. It sounds like it's going to be Tyrod Taylor again. Danny Dimes has that neck injury. This line coming in is the Commies as a road 2.5-point favorite. It opened as a pick'em. It is now 2.5 on the side of Washington. For this one. We get into the trends. Washington just 1-4 against the spread their last 5 games against the Giants, 2-6-1 straight up in their last 9 games against the Giants, but Washington pretty good on the road lately, 7-2 against the spread their last 9 games when on the road. You flip it over for the Giants, 1-6 against the spread their last 7 games, 1-6 straight up in their last 7 games overall, and they are 0-5 against the spread their last 5 against an NFC opponent. This one's a trap game for me because I don't know if I really trust the Commanders to get a win. And the Giants kept it dicey in their last game, right? Because it was, oh God, who did they just play? Was it Buffalo?
Yeah, the Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah, they almost beat Buffalo. They lost on that, or they had a chance at the last play, and it looked like Darren Waller got held, but they didn't call it.
I'm taking the Giants in this one, actually. I don't trust the Commanders.
I was going to take the Giants too, but I just feel like both of us can't bet on the Giants. So I'm going to go with the Commanders on this one.
All right, Washington it is. So probably the best game at the 1 o'clock slate. It is the Detroit Lions taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Lions coming in at 5-1. Ravens are 4-2. And this one is very intriguing. You know, because the Lions are a team that I've fully admitted I have not been giving their just due. I've not been giving them more credit. When I said I was going to start doing that, will I do it this week? We'll see. Baltimore, the customary home 3-point favorite in this one. It opened at 2.5, so it's just up a 0.5 point to that theory. Detroit comes in 7-1 straight up in their last 8 games, 7-1 against the spread their last 8 games. But Detroit is only 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games against Baltimore, and only 1-5 straight up in their last 6 games against the Ravens. Detroit on the road, pretty good, 4-1 against the spread their last 5 road games. You flip it over for Baltimore, 6-2 against the spread their last 8 games, 4-2 straight up in their last 6. And how about this one? Baltimore is only 1-6 against the spread when playing at home on a Sunday. You go first here. Lions, Ravens 3-point favorite.
Well, remember last time these teams played back in Detroit, Justin Tucker hit that record 66-yard field goal. I'm going to roll with the Lions in this one.
You and I will differ. I'll take Baltimore on this one. I feel like it's a big game for Baltimore. Again, it's like a little bit of my bias towards the Lions happening, but I'll take the Baltimore Ravens there. So the 4 o'clock slate, we go a long trip out west coming off their bye for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are out in L.A. to take on the Rams. 4:05 kick out there at SoFi. Coming in, of course, for the Steelers, 3-2, a lot of questions about their offense, who they are, firing Matt Canada, and the Rams a little coming up here at 3-3 on the year, starting to piece some things together. This line is 3. It's been solid at that all week long. We jump into the trends. Pittsburgh comes in 7-2 against the spread their last 9 games, and 7-2 straight up their last 9. But how about this? They own the Rams. Pittsburgh is 5-1 straight up in their last 6 against the Rams, and they've also covered in those 5 games as well. Pittsburgh is 5-1 against the spread, their last 6 games on the road, but Pittsburgh, one thing they don't do is cover in LA. They're only 2-5 straight up in their last 7 games when on the road against the Rams. You flip it over for LA, 5-1 against the spread their last 7 games, but they're only 5-12 straight up in their last 17. But the Rams are 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games at home. And they are also 5-2 straight up their last 7 games when at home against Pittsburgh. Rams 3-point home favorite in this one. This smells and stinks of the Steelers getting a backdoor cover on this. I think the Rams will win. I'm taking the Rams. I can't do it. I'll take the Rams. Rams.
I'm riding with you, Matt. I'm going Rams as well.
All right, Rams. Packers traveling to take on the Denver Broncos, 425 at Mile High in this one. Denver, one of the laughing stocks of the league. Now you got Sean Payton bitching at Russell Wilson. Whose fault is it? What's going on? Broncos come in at 1-5. Packers off their bye are 2-3. Biggest question for the Packers, I think, is some of their health. Are they going to get Aaron Jones back? Is he healthy to go? And is Jordan Love a guy that you can really trust to get a win out there in Denver? This line open as a 1.5, or excuse me, as a half. It's now to 1, favored for the Packers on the road. So it's pretty much a pick 'em game here. I will start with Green Bay, 7-3 against the spread their last 10 games. They are 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games in Denver, and also 4-1 straight up in their last 5 games against Denver. Green Bay is 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games on the road, but Green Bay is only 1-6 straight up in their last 7 games were on the road in Denver. You flip it over for the Broncos, we know the train wreck that they are. 0-6-1 against the spread their last 7 games, 1-5 straight up in their 6 games this year. One play, though, over is the play here. Over is 6 out of the last 9 games between Denver and Green Bay, and it's hit 5 out of their last 6 home games for the Denver Broncos. I think I'm going to go Broncos. I don't want to do it, but I will take the Broncos in this game. Ryan?
I'll go Packers, looking to avoid losing 3 straight. Both teams are, actually. I just refuse to bet the Broncos. So I'm gonna roll with Green Bay.
Well, it's kind of me for this next game. I refuse to bet on the Cardinals. NFC West matchup, Seattle playing host to the Arizona Cardinals, 1-5. Big story for the Cards this week is that Kyler Murray is back practicing. Do they really want him to come back? I don't know. Seattle's 2-3. This was a 7.5 points, or excuse me, 6.5 when it opened. It's now to 7.5. I have it at 8 in a couple of places. I'll get some trends in a second, but I'm taking Seattle all day in this one. I kind of like the under, though. I think Seattle's just going to run the football. The over set at 44.5. Trends for this one: Arizona 1-12 straight up in their last 13 games, 1-4 against the spread and straight up in their last 5 games against Seattle, and Arizona 0-6 straight up on their last 6 games on the road. You flip it over for Seattle, they're not covering really either. They're only 4-10 against the spread their last 14 games. So take that for what it is. Seattle -8 is my player here, though.
I'm torn on this because Geno Smith and Seattle's offense in a whole kind of pretty much stalled. Only 13 points in Cincinnati through 3 picks. I kind of like the Cardinals in this one,
right.
but if
it's 8, man. It's 8.
But it's in Seattle. I'm gonna go with the Seahawks.
All right, Seattle it is. What a marquee matchup this is for the AFC West. I think a lot of people will be glued to this one. 425, the LA Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Chargers got I don't say a butt whoop, but that's a shocking loss, in my opinion, Monday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. So they got a short week. Kansas City continuing to roll. They are 5-1. This game opened at 5.5. I have it at 5.5 for the home Kansas City Chiefs. So start with the Chargers, though. They're only 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games, 2-5 straight up in their last 7. Now, one place that they get it done covering is in Kansas City. The Chargers are 5-1 against the spread their last 6 against the Chiefs, and 3, but they don't win. They're only 3-15 straight up in their last 18 games against Kansas City. Chargers are good on the road, though. 8-4 against the spread their last 12 games on the road. 6-2 against the spread their last 8 games when they play at Arrowhead. You flip it over for the Kansas City Chiefs, 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games, and they are 9-1 against the 9-1 straight up in their last 10 games at home I'll take the Chargers to cover here. I think they're feisty enough to maybe get that win, but I think they're going to cover that 5.5.
I'm going to go, oh, God. I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
That's a tough call.
Yeah. I didn't even look at the over-under for this one. It was a big one. It's got to be. It's only 47.5.
I think Kansas City really, their offense compared to the last 3 years.
I kind of like the over mostly because I think the Chargers, with Austin Eckler back now, their offense looked a little bit more of what they were supposed to be. And for Kansas City, they just keep rolling. I kind of like I'll tell you that. I like the best play there. We don't necessarily do the over-under, but I'll take the Chargers plus that points there against the Chiefs. Final one, Sunday Night Football, another just marquee matchup. You have the Miami Dolphins traveling to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. A combined 10-2 record between the Eagles and the Dolphins. They're both 5-1. Spread is held steady at 2.5. Oh, man, I feel so bad. I've not been giving public money to the people.
Dolphins are averaging 505 yards a game.
Oh, yeah, they're insane. Absolutely insane. I apologize. I've not been giving the public money. Should have yelled at me, Ryan. What am I doing over here? Not giving the people what they need. This game, 64% of the public money is on Philly, minus that 2.5. 36% of it is on the Miami Dolphins. Let's get to the trends here. I will start with Miami. They are 8-1 against the spread their last 9 games, 5-1 obviously on the season. But how about this? They are only 2-6 against the spread their last 8 games against the Eagles, but they are 8-4 straight up in their last 12 games against Philly. Then we flip over to the Eagles. They are 4-1 straight up in their last 5 games at home. I like this as a huge lock. Miami. I think I'm going to start fading the Eagles a little bit here. I have some serious questions about what they're trying to do. I think the loss of Shane Steichen, which I think we discussed here on this show, has been bigger than maybe any of us can understand. So I will take the Dolphins plus that 2.5 all day. I might take them on the money line straight up, but if you're going to give me the points, I'll take them plus 2.5. I think Miami, that's one of my favorite bets of the weekend, Ryan. Not to sway you. Not to sway you.
I'm going to go with the Eagles to win by a field goal here.
Okay.
Eagles D-line is pretty solid, so they're gonna have to pass the ball, and if Tua's gonna be throwing the ball 40 times, I think he's gonna turn over the ball a couple times. I'm gonna roll with the Eagles, the home team here, to win by a field goal.
Yeah, I'm this slate of games is pretty interesting. Where there's the Lions Ravens are probably a pretty big game there. If you could somehow, here's the thing. Lions and the Rams are the two teams we're rooting for to beat the Steelers and the Ravens. But then there's also a couple, Chargers, Chiefs. We want the Chiefs to win. Try to knock the Chargers down a little bit. And the same thing, I don't think you're going to catch the Dolphins. It doesn't quite mean a little bit. But you have a lot of NFC, AFC crossover games here, which are pretty interesting. So again, that's our slate of games. We'll run through those on Monday to recap it. We'll do Monday Night Football, 49ers, Vikings on Monday to get to all that coming up. We'll make our plays for Ohio State, Penn State too. You want me to get you the trends on that before we have Sonny come on?
Let's do it.
So Sonny's going to join us coming up, sportsbook manager for Tipico. We'll get all of his picks, his thoughts on the slate of games, including the Browns and the Colts coming up on Sunday. But we'll have Sonny come on because I do want to do the Ohio State game. So again, 7-3 per Penn State taking on Ohio State. If this would load. Hang on. Website crashed. Stand by. I have all my picks laid out. Like I have all my picks and all my trends laying out. And then, of course, it didn't happen. All right, so here we go. 6-0, Ohio State, Penn State. Jump into the trends here. Penn State 7-0 against the spread their last 7 games. 10-0 straight up in their last 7. Penn State is covered. How about this? 6 of their last 7 games against the Buckeyes. Now, a lot of those trends were higher because Penn State has not beaten Ohio State in their last 6 games that they've played. Penn State 0-5 in their last 5 games when playing in Columbus. Excuse me. Flip it over for the Buckeyes, though. They are 16-1 straight up in their last 17 games at home. 5-0 their last 5 games at Columbus against Penn State. I'm rocking the Buckeyes all the live long day. That's one of my slam picks of the weekend. 4.5, I'll take it. Ryan, Ohio State, Penn State.
I will ride with you on Matt.
Cool. All right, let's take a break. We'll have Sonny Gup to join us next from Tipico. Run through the NFL slate with him. We'll get his thoughts on some college games as well. And then don't forget, 10:30, Jake Butt, Big Ten and network analyst, is going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on the Michigan situation. Of course, Ohio State, Penn State. Locked and loaded. Taking you up to 11 o'clock this morning right here on Big Play. Welcome back. Matt Fontana show right here on Big Play. As we always do on Friday, we bring in Sonny Gupta, Tipico Sportsbook Manager. Sonny, what's going on with Michigan, man? What's going on? Sonny's a noted Michigan fan. Hey, oh, by the way, we're going to have Jake Butt on later in the show, former Michigan, Michigan tight end there. But we'll get to the sports book in a second side of things, Sonny. Are you doing okay, though, as a Michigan fan today?
What are we doing here? Guilty until proven innocent? Is that what it is now?
It's Harbaugh, man. Of course. He's guilty until proven innocent. Of course.
I refuse to acknowledge it. It looks like the rest of our schedule has said they're okay with playing us. So let's move on. Yeah, I refuse to acknowledge that Michigan are cheating right now. That's not true. Let's let the whole process play out.
Okay, yeah, we got to wait for the process to play out and do justice and all that kind of stuff. Of course, Sonny Gupta joining us every Friday. Tipico, use that code BIGPLAY150 when you sign up. You get the bonus bets. You play along. We've got all of our selections. Sonny, we'll start on the college side of things because what a massive game we have down at Ohio Stadium in Columbus. A noon kick, which I know some people are kind of iffy on. It's Ohio State. It's Penn State. Ohio State, a 4.5-point favorite. Tell me about the line movement. Tell me what you like on this. Sonny, I'm slamming the Buckeyes. I like them a lot in this game, and especially at that 4.5.
So, I hate to bring Michigan back into this, but James Franklin called out the Michigan schedule, said it was super easy. I guess somehow forgetting that they haven't played anybody either yet.
No, they haven't, Sonny.
It's unbelievable, the hypocrisy from James Franklin, but he always feels like it's a 3-team race between Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. It's really, the last few years, it's been a 2-team race. It's Ohio State and it's Michigan. We are the Big Ten. It's not, Penn State is not in the same caliber as us. Look, you want to talk about the line movement? The line started at 3.5. It got all the way up to 5. Right now it's at 4.5. I'm with you. This will not be a close game. Ohio State at home. I don't love that it's a big noon kickoff here. It should be under the lights. But let's really look at this right now. Ohio State, they've played a real team. They've played Notre Dame. Penn State, I guess Iowa is their best win right now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, put up 25 points to save their coach.
Right.
The public right now, surprisingly, is on Penn State. 52% of the money is on Penn State to cover the spread. But look, the public also moved the line from 3.5 to 4.5. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of money on -4.5 for Ohio State, and I'm going to put a lot of money on -9.5. I love Ohio State to take care of business here in a statement win.
I'm thinking about that alternate spread too, Sonny, and I like it around 7.5, something like that. If you're going to go to 9, I feel a lot better about it too. And also we should feel pretty good with that money being kind of split, that line won't move at all before tomorrow, right? There's not going to be this giant wave coming in. So if you really like Ohio State at 4.5, you think that's going to be pretty solid for tomorrow?
Are we not? I guess we're still technically, if any injury news changes,
I guess,
banged up players. That's the only reason I could see the line moving. But right now, with the money kind of split there, I'd be surprised if it moves.
Sonny, I do want to ask you about, Tennessee, Alabama coming up. We'll talk about Michigan. They got a big number against Michigan State, but you mentioned the alternate spread, Duke, Florida State too. I love doing alternate spreads. As you see it, as you look, do you have any rules of thumb when it comes to an alternate spread? Are there numbers that it's too much? Do you like a gap? Like in this situation where it's 4.5, would you tell yourself don't ever go above 7 points beyond that? Just like anything that you enjoy when it comes to alternate spreads, because I'm with you. I like them a lot. I like getting just a little bit of boost, a little bit of juice on just some extra points. I love it too.
So my rule with alternate spreads is just bet football numbers, right? Don't go up to 8.5, go 9.5, right? Don't move it from 2.5 to 5.5, move it to 6.5, right? Like just bet where you think that the margin of victory is a football number. That's what I like to do with the alternate spreads here.
Some other big games this weekend. Let's just start there with Michigan. They take on Michigan State. It's 24.5. Some people would like to believe that maybe this could be a deterrent or be something that Michigan is kind of worried about. I like Michigan to cover in that game a lot, Ryan, because I think they're going to, or excuse me, Sonny, because I think they're going to be good and ticked off and take it out on the Spartans. So actually I like Michigan a lot minus that 24.5.
I can't agree more. In Harbaugh's time here, Michigan State has had our number a few times, especially when we were the better team. They've still taken care of business. So this feels like one of those statement wins for Michigan. They've been doing it all season. They'll when they're up, they will really lean on you, especially in that second and third quarter. They really like to pull away. So I feel like, especially with the accusations this week. I could see Harbaugh really taking it out on little brother Michigan State here.
7:30 ABC game of the night. Did you? By the way, because I was listening to the game last night, Kirk Herbstreit left that game last night in New Orleans to fly to Columbus to do game day. And then he's leaving in the afternoon in Columbus to fly to Tallahassee to do Florida State. So private jets are a great thing. But Duke, Florida State, it's ABC. It's the game of the night. It is Florida State minus 14.5. I think the big story for this is Duke, if they can get Riley Leonard back for this game. It sounds like he could return for this. I still am leaning Florida State. I think 14.5 is a really interesting number on that. I like Florida State to get that win there, though, Sonny. What do you think about the Blue Devils and the Seminoles?
I like Florida State at 14.5. I would love it if it was 13.5.
Yeah.
That 14 number is going to be very interesting here. Look, Jordan Travis and that offense, especially with those two big receivers they got down there, it's really tough to beat them. Florida State right now, they look great. They're obviously vying for a playoff spot. What I think is really interesting is if Washington does lose, and they don't make the playoff, I think Jordan Travis has a really interesting Heisman case here. And he's at plus 1,200 right now. So I've sprinkled a little money on that. I think it's very interesting. If you don't believe that Washington makes the playoff, I think he really shoots up the rankings here to close the season if Florida State can get into the playoff. I'm going to
get you. We'll talk a little Heisman here. Of course, he's Sonny Gupta joining us from Tipico, Sportsbook Manager. Two other games, just if you like anything part of these games. Tennessee, Alabama. It's at Tuscaloosa. Alabama, a 9-point home favorite there. Then we also have Utah, USC. USC, a 7-point home favorite there. Do you like either one of those spreads in either one of those games?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the public loves right now. So let's talk about Tennessee, Alabama. It's Joe Milton versus Jalen Milroe. Both quarterbacks can't seem to complete a 10-yard slant, but they can throw the ball 60 yards on a dime. So don't really know what's going on there. I feel like whoever plays better out of the two quarterbacks is going to win this game. Right now, the public is on Alabama, and right now we have it at 8 points. So the public is on Alabama to cover 70% of them like that. So I'm riding with the public here. I think Alabama takes care of business here against Tennessee.
And then you mentioned the Heisman odds. What a weekend it was where Michael Penix vaults. Bo Nix, I think, could maybe still be in it. And then probably the biggest thing, Sonny, is that, Caleb Williams is out of this thing now, as we sit there and look at it. So I'm pulling up Tipico right now. Heisman, you mentioned Penix favorite. Dylan Gabriel's there plus 950, but you mentioned Jordan Travis at the plus 1,200. You like him there. J.J. McCarthy's plus 1,000. But again, just to recap what you said, you like Jordan Travis there.
Yeah, so I think J.J. McCarthy, the efficiency is there, but he's just not going to get the stats that'll flash in the same way that a Dylan Gabriel will or Jordan Travis. So I think he's the best quarterback of the bunch, but he's just not going to have the stats. So I wouldn't bet him, even though I'm a Michigan guy. Dylan Gabriel's interesting. Like Michael Penix, if they make the playoff, he has this, right? He's minus 135 on the book. It's him versus the field, and he's favored versus the field, right? Like I obviously like him, but if you want a long shot, I love Jordan Travis. Shooting up the rankings here, especially as Florida State keeps taking care of business.
To the pro slate with Sonny Gupta here on the Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. Browns, Colts, Browns 3.5. We're all kind of waiting to see Deshaun Watson. How much does that factor in for you, Sonny, when it comes to the spread? Because I have a lot of people that say they love the Browns all the way up to 5.5 on this just because they think they're the better team than the Colts. What is Watson's impact on the line, and do you like the Browns to cover that 3 on the road?
Yeah, so the latest that I've seen is that they expect him to suit up and play. Obviously, if that changes, the line will move. But yeah, right now we have it Tipico at -3. So I like it there. That 3.5 always gets a little tougher.
I always want the hook, man. I always want I don't know. I'm a sucker for the hook. I love it.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah, no, like this. This feels like the case where Watson suits up. They take care of business. Gardner Minshew has looked iffy in his starts here during the season. So I like the Browns to take care of business here, -3.
Lions, Ravens, another big matchup at 1 o'clock. It's the Ravens -3. An intriguing match. I don't know why I just never seem to buy into the Lions, and the Ravens are just such an up and down team. It's 3. It's close. What do you like there, Ravens, Lions?
The public is split 50-50 on this one. I agree. The Lions, we've never really seen them kind of take that next step. They're tied at the top of the NFC for the first time maybe ever. Like, I don't know if you can ever really buy into the Lions fully, but the Ravens have not really shown why you should trust them either this season. So the public is split, and so am I here. I'm staying away personally.
Okay.
The over money, so it's at 43 right now. We have 80% on the over at 43, so maybe if you want to bet that game, bet the over here.
There you go. Final two games for you, the marquee ones on the later slate, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think it's a must-win game for the Chargers. It's 5.5. I did take LA to backdoor that. They might even win that game, but it's the Chiefs. They're so pretty good. That's another one, too, starting talking about the over-under. I believe that's set at 48. That's a game I really like the over there, too.
Yeah, speaking about the over-under, right now the public loves that over. It's at 90% on the over 48. So
I better go get that now then while we're talking, because I assume that's going to move. That's going to move.
Yeah, so... Yeah. The public loves it. I love over 48. I always get hesitant in these AFC West matchups to bet either side. I feel like anything can happen in that division. So I'm going to stay away from betting the Chiefs. If you like the Chargers plus 5.5, that seems like a good call there. Right now, the Chiefs have 60% of the money to cover the spread. But I personally like the Chargers here in this spot.
Sunday night, Dolphins, Eagles. I mean, this is what you want in the NFL, right? Two of just high-powered off. But so I was talking about the Eagles earlier, and their offense doesn't quite seem to be the same to me. So I took the Dolphins. I think they're going to win this game outright, but certainly going to cover that plus 2.5. And sneakily, I like the under here at 51. What do you like between Miami and Philly?
You like this under. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the public likes the over. 75% is on the over, 51.5. It's the highest total of this week's slate. Let's talk about that spread. So the public is torn 50-50 here on the spread at -2.5. I don't know why anybody would have confidence in Jalen Hurts after last game. That last interception could have been intercepted by two different defenders. I don't know what he was thinking on that throw. So I love the Dolphins here in this spot to take care of business. That offense looks unstoppable. So under the lights, I see McDaniel making a statement here and a statement win against the Eagles.
Love it. Sonny Gupta is always joining us on Friday for all of our picks. Get to Tipico. Use that code BIGPLAY150. Get the $150 in bonus bets. You get the $30 dog pound futures bet. You can play along with us. Build up that bankroll. Basketball is going to be right around the corner before we know it. Hockey's rolling. We like our Heisman odds there as well. So get signed up today with the Tipico Sportsbook. Download the app. Use that code BIGPLAY150. Sonny, enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
And remember, innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty. We're going to talk to Jake Butt about that next from Sonny Gupta right there on Tipico. Jake Butt is next, Big Ten Network analyst, of course, Michigan Wolverine tight end, but we'll talk with him about Ohio State, Penn State, want to get his insight in this game. Really, Ryan, we haven't even mentioned all day, Drew Aller versus Kyle McCord. This might be the first game. Well, Sam Hartman's close, but this might be the first time that it's true that Kyle McCord is not the best quarterback on the field come Saturday. We'll get Jake's thoughts on Drew Aller and what that pressure is like coming back to Ohio. Because Drew Aller's from Medina. Jake Butt's from Pickerington. So he played coming back from Michigan to play in Columbus. Can't wait to get his thoughts on all that. Jake Butt, Big Ten Network. He's next right here on the Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. All right, I'm super excited to bring in our next guest right here on the Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. Welcome back. We bring in Jake Butt, analyst for the Big Ten Network, color analyst, former Michigan Wolverine, All-American tight end, and we got a big slate of college football this weekend, and I'm Jake. First off, really appreciate your time. Welcome to the show. I loved your film breakdown, getting ready for Ohio State and Penn State. It is the game of the weekend, as you've even tweeted. It's really going to be the deciding game for a lot of people in the Big Ten. The first question is the quarterbacks, right? Kyle McCord, Drew Aller. Sam Hartman's a good quarterback, but Jake, I know a lot of people feel like this is the first game where truly the better quarterback is not on the Ohio State sidelines. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, look, I actually think it's interesting. I think we have 4 quarterbacks this weekend because you have a Drew Aller when he plays in State College at Beaver Stadium, and then you have a Drew Aller on the road. Those are 2 different stats. Which one's going to show up? Can he break that trend? You also have a Kyle McCord in a clean pocket. So Kyle McCord's stats when he's not under pressure. He's a 70% completion rate, 12 yards per completion. Those are damn good stats. Meanwhile, when he is pressured, that drops to a 37% completion rate in less than 2 yards per completion. So you can see what I'm saying here is we have a wide range as both these quarterbacks are still pretty young. And they haven't kind of tightened their bullet spread, right? If you're an archer at the Olympic, like you want a tight bullet spread. There's been a wide range for both of these guys, and the question is really, I bet the winning team gets a more consistent performance from their quarterback.
Another part of this is Drew Aller coming back to Ohio. He's a Medina kid. You can speak to that a little bit. You went to Pickerington. You come back from Michigan. What's that like, Jake, to be an Ohio guy, to come back and play at Columbus? A lot of people think that might actually, really constrict Drew Aller a little bit.
Well, I don't know if it'll constrict him. It helps me. I used it to my advantage because here's the thing. When you grow up in Ohio is Ohio State. Ohio State is Ohio. Those things are just kind of eternally related together through time. And when you say Ohio State, you talk about Ohio State football. Okay, so him being an Ohio kid, his whole community probably proudly wore scarlet and gray and cheered for the Buckeyes. And Ohio State offered him. But I wonder if that was a real offer or not, because once Quinn Ewers reclassified, they didn't really pursue Drew Aller. It was an offer, but sometimes those offers don't actually stand up since Ohio State took Quinn Ewers. So for me, I never had an offer from Ohio State. I took that as added motivation to play in the game. I'm sure Drew Aller's doing the same thing. I mean, it would add to the sweetness if he can win. It adds to the pain, though, if you show up and you can't lose, and you lose.
And I'm sure a lot of family, too, right, Jake? I'm sure you had a lot of family that showed up, and I'm sure Drew Aller's going to have a lot of family there in Columbus, too.
You're in Cleveland, aren't you?
Yeah.
My mom's from Cleveland Heights. She's one of 16.
Wow.
One of 16. My dad is one of 8 in Piqua, Ohio. So we'd have 50 family members at every single game. It was crazy.
A lot of ticker requests from the Butt family for when you came
That's
down.
right.
I can only imagine. And I Ohio State, Michigan, that's not a hard ticket to get, down there in Columbus either. He's Jake Butt, color analyst for the Big Ten Network. We're talking Ohio State, Penn State. For the Buckeyes, which I think is interesting too, Jake, as I looked at Penn State. For Ohio State, they had to piecemeal it at the running back position. They had to go with Chip Trayanum after Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson was out. Then he gets hurt in that game. You hope that they were maybe saving Travion Henderson for this game, but then you flip it over for a Penn State team with Allen, their running back. They don't run it all that often. It seems to really kind of be on Drew Aller, who's got some move to it. How much do you think the Ohio State running game is going to impact this game?
Well, I'll say this, actually. I think the running game with Penn State is a little bit deceiving. Their total numbers are solid. They get there. It's just their yards, they don't have explosive runs. It's kind of a slow bleed, which is a bit interesting. It's kind of unique. You wouldn't expect that. But how big of a storyline is the running back for Ohio State? It's huge, in my opinion. It goes back to that film breakdown. Penn State brings a lot of pressure and simulated pressure, and Manny Diaz loves to blitz. So when that's the case, if he's blitzing more than 5 guys, well, who has to step up? Say he's blitzing 6 or 7. That's on the running backs to pass protect. And I'm pretty certain just from watching the film that Hayden is not playing because he doesn't know pass pro. Mm-hmm. I think he's talented. When he has the ball in his hands, he's great. But his pass pro seems to be suspect, at least just from my assumptions on his assignment. That's where Henderson comes into play. That's where Mayan Williams comes into play. The other piece is the Buckeye O-line they're not dominant this year.
No.
So those holes will open, and then they'll close quickly. So you need a back that's going to hit it right now before the hole closes, and that's also Travion Henderson. This is a game, I mean, you need all 11 guys on both sides of the ball to show up. Penn State is a damn good team. They need all 11 guys on both sides of the ball. Ohio State is a damn good team. So, I mean, injuries can play a big factor in this game.
Jake, what do you read into the schedule for Penn State? Because we discussed that earlier, where they have the one top 25 win. It was over Iowa. They played Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern as their Big Ten opponents, but really they're out of conference schedule. They just beat up on UMass and Delaware. Do you read anything at all? Yeah, so, okay, Penn State's undefeated, but it's clear Ohio State has had the tougher opponents. Does that factor in for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, this is where it doesn't really factor in. I think it's a bit subjective because, Penn State has pretty much dominated all their lesser opponents, whereas Ohio State hasn't looked perfect against arguably a better schedule. What does that mean? I mean, I don't really know. Here's what I know from the film is that Penn State's a damn good team, just like I said, man. I've covered their last 2 games, and I think I believe Penn State thinks that this year can be very special for them. I also know the same to be true for Ohio State, and there's a lot made about certain stats and certain instances in the season, what's going on. Hey, the defense has taken a huge step forward this year. No denying that. The team as a whole has really rallied around introducing a new quarterback and new pieces across the O-line. These are 2 good football teams. The past won't matter. This will be the game that's talked about for the winner and the loser. I don't think it plays too big of a factor this weekend, though.
To the other big game for the Big Ten this weekend, one that you partook in, of course, Michigan State, Paul Bunyan Trophy, the in-state rivalry. We'll talk a little Michigan and some of the other things that have been going on, Jake, but I've said I really like Michigan. I think that they're going to come out with a little bit of a vengeance here and take care of business and cover that spread against the Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah, well, it's been a wild 24 hours here with some of the breaking news, too, so I guess we'll have to keep following that as that unfolds. These things move pretty quickly. So, that being said, this is just a mismatch, a complete mismatch on paper. In my opinion, Michigan's the number 1 team in the country. Michigan State is kind of a program in transition right now. So that being said, it's a rivalry built on hatred, just like we know Ohio State, Michigan's a rivalry. Anything can happen. So we'll see. If I'm Michigan State, though, I'm going to pull out some trick plays and do some exotic stuff early in the game because the key to an upset is to stay in it into the second quarter and through the first half.
Jake, I know you're a Michigan alum. I know you're in the media now, but what do you believe when we don't know anything yet? There's these allegations. It was the one guy allegedly. Harbaugh says he doesn't know about it. But just from a big picture standpoint, what do you think the impact will be on the NCAA? Is it time to go to radios in the helmet? Do you believe a big sanction could be coming down against Michigan with all these allegations? Just kind of your big picture thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, my experience with Coach Harbaugh, none of this was ever like this. I had no experience like this ever with Coach Harbaugh, so it's a little bit it was shocking to hear it yesterday. And on one end, it was like, man, why would you steal signals from Rutgers? Like that is such an unbelievable thing. But then again, you also have to say, well, it's so unbelievable. Why would you be accused of it? So here's what I know. Every team steals signals. Penn State and Ohio State are going to try to steal hand signals from each other this weekend. That's going to happen. But the distinction is you cannot send someone in person. You cannot do anything extracurricular like that in order to steal signals or signs or whatever. So I mean that line is clear, and it doesn't matter if I'm a Michigan guy or not. Like, that's the integrity of the game. That's agreed upon rules. That if you're over the line, conversations have to happen about what needs to be done. But again, it's so early. Like, we're kind of just getting news through reports right now. I know we live in a fast world. I still like to see information unfold. I'm not saying one way or another. Sure. I just want to see more information come out before I give you a firm opinion on anything beyond what I just said.
You're a perfect person to ask this. As an offensive player in the college game, could the NFL, setup of a radio into the helmet? Obviously, you had an NFL career as well. I think a lot of people would say in the college game where there are so many signals, it is the receivers and the tight ends and the backs that also need this information because they don't always huddle and they always kind of go quick pace. Is there a world that the radio and the helmet just solves this for college, or you don't think that actually would be applicable to the college game?
Ideally, I mean, you're right. It's a good thought. I think about why we're at the place we're at with signals right now. And I think a big piece of it is like, hey, man, the NCAA has these like 20-hour rules, right? So like you have a limited amount of time. And because of that, you can't really like to install a playbook is to learn a foreign language, quite simply. Like you are learning a lot of verbiage. Like when I was with Coach Harbaugh, that is an NFL playbook. There was paragraph-long play calls in there. It was insane. A lot of kids couldn't grasp that. Like some guys didn't play because they simply could not grasp what that meant. So the advantage of going to signals is you hold up one single sign and everyone knows exactly what that play is. It's very simplified. It allows you to play fast. And that goes to the lowest common denominator, which helps a lot of teams and a lot of players out. So, if you're huddling, it's I don't think a lot of teams want to do it. I do think maybe you consider it, but frankly, like again, I don't like an emotional reaction to this. Like this is just the rules are broken here. Like that doesn't mean the rules were bad. It means the rules were not broken yet. But we're talking about potentially having broken the rules right now. So like that doesn't mean the rules were bad. That just means that, hey, we may have to consider, what needs to happen here. So again, let's just see as these next few days unfold. Let's just see what happens and what comes of this. And, after that, we'll probably have some more clarity.
Great stuff. Jake Butt joining us, color analyst for the Big Ten Network. Follow him on Twitter at jbooty88 for all the film breakdowns. Great stuff, Jake. Awesome insight, and hopefully have you on here in a couple weeks when we get closer to the game, all right?
Yep, you got my cell. Hit me anytime, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it. There he goes, Jake Butt from the Big Ten Network out there in Blue. It was funny because Jake, I appreciate his time very much. He's like, dude, we didn't get until 1 a.m. last night to Bloomington. I've heard there are some big schools, Ryan, like in the Big Ten that I've heard like getting to these places is just a nightmare. It's not easy. So we appreciate Jake very much. And of course, we'll see him on all the calls this weekend for the Big Ten Network. And again, I can't wait to have him on coming up for the big game. I thought it was interesting where he said college, maybe that it doesn't apply. Maybe that radio and the helmet just is not the easiest way to do it for college. I thought that was a great insight too. And what he was talking about with that rule was, in the NFL, your coach will give you a playbook and go, you better learn every single word of this. In college, you're only allowed so many hours with these players because they still have schoolwork they have to do. They still have classes they have to go to. So trying to find a way to make it as easy as possible for these players to basically consume it. I thought it was a great point from Jake, so we'll have to see how that plays out. All right, let's catch our final break of the morning. When we come back, the big play bracket finals, which we will get to, and our final thoughts for the Browns and Colts as we gear up for that, and, of course, Ohio State, Penn State as well. Football Friday. I love it. Great stuff this morning right here on Big Play. Stay with us. Great stuff here on a Football Friday edition. If you missed Jake Butt, Big Ten analyst, go back, get the replay. iHeart app, of course, on our YouTube page, on Twitter, social media. You can replay the video. Great stuff on the inside for Ohio State, Penn State. Brought up some good points, but I really thought it was interesting when he's talking about the helmets and talking about the radio and what was going on with Michigan. And obviously, he's in a tough spot as a Wolverine, but we'll see how it plays out. But great stuff. If you missed it, go back. As always, our picks, Sonny Gupta. Sonny likes a lot of plays this weekend. Our bracket of the week is done, Ryan. We brought it back, the big play bracket, your favorite pop/soda in an upset.
We have a winner,
Dr.
man.
Pepper takes it down. Congratulations.
Dr. Pepper, how about that? Cutting down the nets.
I'm sad that Sprite finished in dead last. So 35% of the vote for Dr. Pepper, 31% for Coca-Cola. Mountain Dew came in third with 20%, and Sprite in dead last with 14%. They're all great.
I'm glad Dr. Pepper won. I said they're
I love Dr. Pepper is so delicious. There is something about it. Blake tweeted that he knows what Reflog would vote for. Is Reflog really in on?
So I actually tweeted that too. So he loves Mountain Dew.
Oh, dude, that is right.
Yeah.
Because Reflog, obviously Reflog show on Mondays. And I had always kind of like through people had known who McNeil was or talking like that. And when I started working here, I really got to meet him in person, all that kind of stuff. And he came in to record a show one day, and I was sitting here, and he was waiting for us to finish up so he can come in. And I look out there, I go, is he drinking a 2-liter thing of Mountain Dew? Yeah. And he was. Like, he was chugging.
He loves his Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Of the four, like, Coca-Cola is my least favorite. I'm sorry. There's just something. The only thing you gotta, like, have you ever had ice cream put in a Coca-Cola? Kind of like a root beer float, but with it. That is, I don't really like Coca-Cola, though.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Coke guy
Dr. Pepper's delicious. I want one right now. Sprite is very good. And, of course, Mountain Dew. So there it is. We'll do something Halloween-themed for next week. We'll announce that on Monday. So the Break Play bracket is back. Follow us at Matt Fontana Show. That's where all the brackets are going to be posted. And that's where you can vote, including a vote on our Twitter question this morning, which was, do you want Deshaun Watson to play this weekend versus the Colts? This is a little closer than I thought, Ryan. This was 55-45. People say yes. Dallas tweets, they need to just make a decision. That is something that, to be honest with you, I got angry about when this all first started, where I was like, just make a decision. We got to do this. We got to move forward and figure it out. And then you got to understand that it's not maybe ever that simple or easy. And you got to see if you can play it out because, Ryan, this is your quarterback. So if there's any chance that he can play, you want to leave it open for that. And the fact that the Browns at this point, it's still open, I feel better about him playing. BK fan, I'm assuming BK19, I'm assuming who that's about, tweets, too soon. No need to risk further injury and ruin what's left of the season. That would probably be the biggest reason that people would say, no, don't play Watson. Which I understand, but then when do you take the reins off? Like, is he ever truly going to be fully healthy this season? I don't think so. He said, and it's been reported, that he can't injure it further. I never buy that. Dude, if it's sprained, if you have a bruise, you can make it worse. Like, you always can. The question is going to be his effectiveness on the field, the functionally able thing. I think it's what we keep saying about, what Stefanski had to say. If Watson can play, I need him to play. I need him to go out there because there's going to be rust. Hopefully it's not too much. And this is a game that I think he can ease back into. Like, that's my other big thing about all this, right? I kind of want him to ease back into this. And I think the Colts are an opportunity for that. Seahawks at Seattle, that is a tough-ass game.
Yeah, it is.
Then you're home against the Cards. That would probably be the easiest game to ease back into. The problem is then you're facing the Ravens and Steelers the next 2 weeks. It's time to go. I think it's time to go. If Watson's feeling good, if he can make those throws, you need to put him in the game. And you're also in a situation where you're afforded that if he gets in there and you got to pull him back out, pull him back out. PJ Walker's played a little bit. You expect him to be ready to go. That's where it's at. Ryan, we don't do the Browns bets just for good karma here with as far as our picks go for Tipico, but I like Ohio State. We're talking about guys in a second. I like the Browns to cover there. I think they're the better team than the Colts. Just go out there, play your game, run the football if you need to. And I think this is another opportunity for that Browns defense. Like, they're at a point right now where they look forward to games just to prove how good they are. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think they really want to get out there and keep these trends going and keep these gaudy stats going. And there's a conversation I had with somebody recently. What is the MVP award? It's usually the best player on the best team, right? Usually. Quarterback, right? Would you not say that Myles Garrett's the best player on the best defense right now?
He definitely is.
Would that not tell you that he'd be the defensive player of the year?
It sure would.
Odds do not reflect that. But I think he's in like kind of just laying in the weeds a little bit. You know, Parsons is there. I think Bosa is still there. Right now, TJ Watt is the favorite. And I understand that. But I think Myles Garrett's in a savory spot for DPOY. We'll see how that goes. We like the Browns to Ohio State. Sonny kind of reaffirmed what I feel. I'm going to take them on an alternate line. Jake had some great insight where, yeah, Penn State can be a dangerous team. My biggest thing is it's not at State College. It's here. I think there's a factor a little bit with Drew Aller playing in this game. It's a big game. It's noon. I think that helps Ohio State too. Similarly, as we were talking about the Browns defense, this is a game for Ohio State's defense. This is the most scared that I've been of any offense that has come through. And that's even including Notre Dame. Say what you want about Maryland. I need this defense to show up. I need Denzel Burke to be healthy, Lathan Ransom to make some plays. And can we, for the love of God, get a pass rush? That is something Ohio State has been missing desperately. I haven't watched it that closely. Are they doubling JTT? I don't know. But you have got to get a pass rush in this game. Jim Knowles, take it or leave it. I can't really make a dissertation on what this defense is. I think this game is going to come down to Ohio State's defense and what they can do against Penn State. I like the Buckeyes to cover here. I like this as a big win for the Buckeyes. I really am excited for it. And it's fun, too, because I guess it is a noon game, and then we can sit back and just gloat the rest of the afternoon and watch the rest of the slate. Interesting slate for college, though, Ryan. I think you have about 2 big games. That's about it this weekend. You got Ohio State, Penn State. You got Florida State, Duke. That's about it. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, so we'll keep our eye on that. Appreciate everybody joining us as always this week. The support does not go missed for us. We appreciate if you spend 2 minutes with us every morning. So we're on Twitter at Matt Fontana Show. We're on Instagram at Matt Fontana Show for all of our great content. Check us out there, or as I mentioned earlier in the show, the easiest thing probably to do is just go follow Big Play. And if you follow Big Play, they retweet stuff from our show, Josh Cribbs' show, Hanford show, Blake and Greg Williams' new show, Come Get Some. That's getting a lot of traction. Ted Ginn's show. Did he hit his mark yet for Ted Ginn's show?
Not yet.
Not yet. So he's there. They have something going when they hit 1,000 followers. Ted's going to give away a game-worn jersey, which is pretty cool. And then I'll tell you what. We had a meeting after this. Maybe we try to get B. Carper Schlegel on Monday with us. I'd love to do that. Talk a little Buckeyes. So obviously the Bobby Carpenter Show with Anthony Schlegel's every Sunday night. You can follow them on Twitter at Bobby Carp Show. That's all the Ohio State breakdown that you need right there is Bobby Carpenter and Anthony Schlegel. So maybe we'll get one of those guys on come Monday to talk about all that. Drennan Show, of course, is up. Bonus time with Bruce Drennan. It's everywhere. Just follow us on Twitter at Big Play. We're at Matt Fontana Show for everything that you need. And then, of course, Tipico is all the bets that you got to get. Did they add... Is Ted consistent on the Big Play, Big Bet show, by the way?
I believe he is.
All right, so there you go. Get all the bets that you need for the weekend with Tipico and our Big Bets, Big Bets, Big Play show.
And that will air at 9 tonight.
Oh, tonight. Cool. Did they start doing replays on Sundays
They
too?
did as well.
I like that a lot. Get you ready for the Sunday slate a little bit there with our Big Play, Big Bets show. Great stuff this week. Enjoy the hell out of the weekend. Don't forget Chico's coming up from 12 to 2 to continue our Football Friday here. He'll have everything that you need to get ready for the weekend, including his picks, Ohio State breakdown. I know that as well. And get ready for the Browns and the Colts. Fantastic week. Appreciate the hell out of it. Have a fantastic weekend. For Ryan Tyler, I am Matt Fontana. It's always just a little sweeter on Fridays. Take it easy.